time since we've done a drink video, a historic cocktail lesson, or any video for that matter. It's been a crazy year at the museum, just getting back into the swing of things, of having all of our in-person events and new events and old events. But I thought, you know, snowed this week. We finally have a reason to kind of slow down and hunker down. So in order to celebrate the start of winter season, which yes, is something to celebrate, let's make a warm drink and let's learn the history of a very ancient, almost, cocktail, mulled wine. So basically, as long as there has been wine, there has been mulled wine. It's a way to make your favorite drink, in my case, alcoholic drink anyway, red wine, a little more festive, a little more warming for this long, dark winter season. So, before we get into the drink, let's learn a little bit about the history, shall we? Everyone knows the ancient Greeks and then the ancient Romans were fond of wine. They even had a god of winemaking, Dionysus to the Romans and Bacchus to the Greeks. He was also the god of fruit, vegetation, fertility, insanity, and other things, but that's beside the point. The point is, they loved their wine. So when the harvest turned up some extraneous wine, it was warmed up, spices were thrown in, and that was it. Nothing goes to waste. Other historians say that the ancient Romans saw medicinal value in warming up wine and using it as a sort of cure for cold-like ailments. As the Romans conquered much of Europe during the height of their power, this use for wine spread across the continent. Herbs and spices were added not only for their medicinal and healing properties, but to make it taste better. As the centuries passed, the popularity of mulled wine eventually waned, though in colder places, like Sweden, it became a staple. But our modern association of this warm drink with the holiday season began in Victorian England. Wine merchants across the country would bottle it and sell it with an image of Father Christmas on it. This was helped by A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens, which depicts a holiday gathering near the end of the story and the sharing of a particular kind of mulled wine called Smoking Bishop. I'll raise your salary and endeavor to assist your struggling family, and we will discuss your affairs this very afternoon over a Christmas bowl of Smoking Bishop. This was Ebenezer Scrooge talking to Bob Cratchit. Every merchant had their own special recipe, their own secret ingredient that made their mulled wine the best. But the bottom line is that all of this marketing, and even what you might call product placement in the most famous Christmas novel of all time, helped to buoy the fragrant beverage into such popularity that it remains a holiday staple to this day. Okay, so mulled wine is not just heating wine up. You're more than welcome to do that, but we're gonna make it a little fancier here. So, for this recipe, what you need for mulled wine is a heavy bottom pot. I'm gonna use a Dutch oven. This one's kind of big. If you have a smaller one, that's good. As far as fruit goes, you do need the oranges. I have cranberries here as a garnish. You don't need that, but they were on sale, and also they're delicious. So let's go for that. As far as the drink itself, a bottle of cheap red wine, basically. The recipe I read said Merlot is a good one, Zinfandel. This is what I had. It's just a red blend, so we're gonna go with it. You do actually need some brandy for mulled wine, which is interesting. Honey or maple syrup. I have this lovely syrup, which is from St. John's Abbey. Whole cloves. You don't want to put the ground cloves in here. You do not. So whole cloves, cinnamon sticks, and you can use star anise if you want, but I do not care for it, so I'm not going to use it. But if you do like it, that's another element of this recipe that you can explore. So first thing we're gonna do is add the oranges to the empty Dutch oven. So 2 small oranges is a good place to start. So one of the oranges you can make slices, and you're gonna just place those around the bottom of the pot. And then the other orange, you're gonna cut in half, as you see here, and then squeeze those oranges into the pot. That's a fun noise. Okay, so once you've got your orange paraphernalia in there, you're gonna add all your liquids here. So you're gonna put the whole bottle in. So obviously, this is for like a gathering. If you are having a small gathering, 1 is probably enough. If you're having a larger gathering or you're just thirsty, you can double the recipe. You can have the recipe. You can do whatever you want. Try to cover up my white shirt so it doesn't get red wine on it. Okay, so you've got 1 bottle of that, and then we're gonna do 1/4 of a cup of brandy. And then you're gonna add the sweetener. So about a tablespoon of this to start with. Once it's heated through or it started heating up and those flavors from the orange and the spices, which we'll add in a bit, have started to soak up, then you can taste it and see if you want to add some more. But to start with, and I don't have a tablespoon on hand, so I'm just gonna estimate, but probably just want to start with about a tablespoon. Okay. And then we add our spices. So we're going to do 2 whole cinnamon sticks. Again, powder is not what you want here. Ground cinnamon, not gonna work because you'll end up drinking that powder and nobody wants that. So let's add 2 cinnamon sticks. Then we're gonna do 4 cloves. If you were to add the star anise, and I don't know if I say that word right, but you know what I mean, the stuff that tastes like black licorice, 3 of those. Okay, now we're gonna put it on the stove. So I'm just gonna give it a little bit of a stir here, just get that syrup and the orange kind of juices really mixed in there. And I do think I'm gonna turn it to medium here. Because like I said, my burner gets a little bit wild. And then you wanna heat it until it's about steaming. So about 5 minutes. And as soon as you start seeing any bubbles, you don't want a rolling boil on this, you really don't. So as soon as you see any bubbles, you're gonna crank that, temperature thing, the knob, to low as it can go without turning it off, okay? Okay, so I started seeing some little bubbles, so I turned it as low as it could go. The next thing you need to do is have a little bit of a taste test. You're tasting for sweetness preference and spice preference. So if you want it sweeter, you taste it and it's not sweet enough, you can add more of your sweetener. If you feel like the spices have not absorbed enough, then heat it on low for 5 to 10 more minutes so those spices have a little bit more of a chance to disperse throughout the wine. So there you have it, a very brief and kind of vague history of mulled wine. But of course, if you're interested in learning a little bit more about it, there's lots of books I came across that I didn't have time to really delve into, but that history is out there. So feel free to research, peruse at your own leisure. And thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you have all the mulled wine you can drink. I hope you stay warm this Thanksgiving season, and happy holidays, everybody.